maybe 2:30 in the morning. What I saw was a male figure.
At the Kapolei police station in Hawaii, things took a deeply unsettling turn. A duty officer spotted a heavy-set male figure strolling silently past the bathroom corridor, making no acknowledgement of anyone around him. The man walked in a straight line and then disappeared directly into a solid wall. The stunned officer immediately gave chase, convinced someone had slipped into a restricted area, but after searching, he came up completely empty. When he brought it up with colleagues, what he heard next sent a chill down his spine. Apparently, an officer by the name of Brown had suffered a fatal heart attack at that very post some years earlier, and the figure he'd just seen matched Brown's description to a T. There are those who believe Officer Brown simply never clocked out for the last time.
That's when I realized maybe I was just chasing.
November 22nd, 2021, two law enforcement officers were called out to investigate a residence. After the occupant feared someone had broken in, the young woman had come home to find her front door hanging wide open. Alarmed, she wasted no time dialing the police to have the property swept. The officers showed up and got to work, but what they ran into was far beyond anything they could have anticipated. What took place left both of them shaken and unsettled, and every moment of it was recorded on their body cams.
Two upstairs and one downstairs.
All right, we're gonna have to go and search the house. Is it okay if we go in?
Yeah, of course.
You don't have any like pets or dogs or anything?
No.
Right. Just stay here, man.
Police, if anyone's here, make yourself known.
Police. Anyone inside? I'm gonna check downstairs, you get upstairs. Police! Anyone inside, make yourself known. Downstairs clear. there.
Every closet they checked was bare, and the whole place had a half-deserted feel despite technically being someone's home. The report noted the woman had only moved in roughly a month prior, and for anyone wondering why the officers never flipped on the lights, the answer is straightforward. In an unfamiliar environment, hunting for light switches is a liability. Every moment matters, and their focus had to stay on any possible danger lurking nearby. Then things took a turn nobody could explain. Doors throughout the house began swinging open on their own. The moment the officers drew close, the atmosphere grew unbearable. Their breathing became audible and strained. And then came the footsteps, heavy, unmistakable footsteps, seemingly right at their backs. Yet each time they spun around, there was nothing there. No trespasser, no shadow, nothing that held up to reason. So what do you make of something like that? How do you experience something so vivid and tangible, yet still struggle to accept the paranormal as an explanation? This footage, like so many before it, has never been given a satisfying answer. It all started when Rome police were called out to investigate an abandoned vehicle spotted in a local park. A blue Toyota Prius was found half sunken just off a quiet road, its doors shut tight. The car was registered to Aaron Davies.
Get this fucker out.
When officers reached out to Aaron's parents, they learned he had been heading to visit his girlfriend but had made a stop to meet up with an old friend named Brandon in Rome.
And then he never said, he said, yeah, they were really excited that was going to happen. And
Where is she at?
she was outside.
Oh, no, where?
She lives in Gadsden.
Okay. So that's where he was heading. Is that correct?
So, right. So, I mean, he and Brandon have been friends for years, and so this being kind of a midway point, they've just come up here to hang out before.
Investigators then made their way to Brandon's residence. He came to the door composed and spoke in slow, measured words.
Around 12 yesterday. Yeah, it's you and Aaron, right? Yeah, me and Aaron. We went to bars sometime in the evening. Came back here. We were driving Red Bull, and then we started drinking the red wine. He doesn't drink often, so he had gone upstairs when she was puking everywhere into the toilet. He was like standing up and puking for some reason. And then I went downstairs because he was telling me that we knew that he doesn't need any help. And I went downstairs, dropped a bottle, cut my pinky, and I went to the urgent care this morning. And yeah, I bandaged it up, took a shower, went to bed. Okay. And then woke up 1 to 2 a.m. around that time.
Officers walked through the house with Brandon, but when they stepped into Aaron's room, what they found there raised serious red flags.
There's a significant amount of blood next to the bed, too. Decent. More than just vomit.
As the search continued, Brandon suddenly bolted from the house, and in doing so, he immediately became their prime suspect.
Dispatch.
Detectives then got in touch with his father, who initially appeared to be shielding his son when he refused to turn his phone over to law enforcement.
Tells us that he found the phone, but doesn't want to give it to us without a search warrant. Because he asked Randy about that, if they needed a warrant.
But then, without warning, everything shifted. He came forward and told them Brandon was willing to give himself up.
York, you're with Brandon. Rachel, Jared. Thank
By the end of that night, investigators had formally filed charges against him.
This is what you're going to sign to, saying you understand your rights. I am willing to make a statement and to answer questions without having a lawyer present this time. I understand and know what I am doing. The above statements of my rights have been read to me. No promises or threats have been made to me, and no pressure of any kind has been used against me. I understand my rights. You would like a lawyer. Okay.
Back in May 2018, Sergeant Anthony Menino was running a routine patrol in a Chicago suburb when things took an unexpected turn. His dashcam picked up footage of a small figure weaving through fast-moving lanes of traffic, though the image wasn't quite clear enough to make out what it was.
Fast-moving oncoming traffic. Before the sergeant arrived, the small child was darting.
Initially, Menino assumed he was looking at a stray dog, but pulling up closer told a very different story. It was a 2-year-old child. Acting without a second thought, he maneuvered his vehicle into the space between the toddler and the approaching cars, putting himself directly in harm's way to protect the boy.
Out of his car, taking risks to rescue the child. Videos like this inevitably.
The child's mother showed up moments later, visibly in a state of shock. It turned out the family's home was only 2 blocks from the scene. The little boy had wandered off without anyone noticing, and if Menino hadn't moved as fast as he did, things could have ended in tragedy.
The child's parents. Thankfully, in this case, the boy's mother arrived a few minutes later.
This next clip comes from Jake Ghost Hunter, who joined forces with a fellow paranormal investigator to spend the night inside the abandoned Old Liberty High School. Initially, everything seemed pretty standard, just a routine sweep of another reportedly haunted location. That sense of normalcy didn't last long, though. Shortly after the two split up to cover more ground, one of them caught sight of a shadowy figure ducking into a room nearby. Then things took a more unsettling turn when what sounded like gunshots began echoing from somewhere deep within the building. The two investigators were at completely opposite ends of the school at that point, and nobody else had any business being on that property. Something felt seriously wrong, wrong enough that they made the decision to dial 911.
911, what's the emergency?
I'm at the Old Liberty High School. There's shots fired. Please come here quick.
Okay, stand by, please.
Pull a stick. Thank you all.
Yep.
We go over here.
You guys armed at all?
No, we have nothing.
Are you the callers?
Yes, yeah, we are.
So what happened?
Well, we're
back here.
We're in here filming a ghost video of all things, and I was kind of standing down here in the cellar, and it sounded like it had to have been like in this parking lot, just like 7 shots. So I ran up to him where he was up in the gymnasium, and we just heard like rattling on the door, and that's when we were like, yeah, we should probably call. The gunshots were all here. The rattling on the door and the footsteps were in the gymnasium, which is right over here.
Fortunately, Jake's recording equipment had been running the entire time.
Make yourself known. Nobody in there, but there's something in there. Oh, are you serious?
For real?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? What?
Let me just.
For real?
So right there on the second floor.
Yes.
We were looking this way. I heard pitter patter, like that, along that. What would that be? The east wall. Yeah. And then he hears it at the end of the hallway. And as I'm taking my light down, I see something go like dark across.
Are you guys dead?
I swear.
You have
and
body
we were
cam?
like, no. But we were talking about
Dude.
you guys. We're like, let's just black out for a second. So we went completely black in there. And all of a sudden we heard movement behind us, and we just ran.
For real?
Because there's nobody in there.
Okay. Dude.
As the two bolted out of the building in the wake of those disturbing sounds, every second of it was captured on their cameras. Even the officers who responded to the call appeared visibly shaken after making their way through those long, pitch-black corridors. It was the kind of night where the dread just never seemed to ease up. Once they'd gathered their equipment, Jake and his partner wasted no time clearing out. When Jake eventually posted the footage online, one comment in particular caught everyone's attention. A woman revealed that her husband had been among the officers dispatched to the scene that night, and she said he still brings up what he experienced there. If you're curious about the full story, head over to Jake Ghost Hunter's channel to watch the complete investigation. November 22nd, 2021, just before midnight, a woman dialed 911 reporting a burglar in her home, but the moment officers were sent to the scene, things started going sideways.
What seems to be the problem?
I left for a while to go shopping, and when I came home, the door was open. I think somebody broke in.
Does anyone live in the house?
Yes, my husband, myself, and our 2 kids, but they're out of town right now. They're with his parents.
And how many rooms do you have?
2 upstairs and 1 downstairs.
All right, we're gonna have to go and search the house. Is it okay if we go in?
Yeah, of course.
You don't have any like pets or dogs or anything?
No.
Right. Just stay here, man. Police, if anyone's here, make yourself known.
The place was dead quiet in a way that felt deeply unsettling, and doors were moving on their own, with no explanation. The woman had mentioned a husband and several other residents, yet every single closet was bare, as though nobody had ever lived there at all.
Police. Anyone inside?
Strange noises kept breaking the silence as officers swept through the rooms, only to vanish the instant an officer looked in their direction. With every minute that passed, the atmosphere inside that house grew harder to explain.
Police, anyone inside, make yourself known.
The moment one of the officers set foot on the staircase, something made a chilling sound directly behind him, yet there was nothing there when he turned around. Was some unknown presence responsible for all of this? Could the house itself have been haunted?
Downstairs clear.
Renovation crews working on an abandoned section of an airport began noticing something they couldn't explain. A small girl kept appearing on the upper floors of a wing that was completely off limits to the public. Concerned that someone had somehow slipped past the barriers, staff radioed a security officer to go investigate. The officer swept through the deserted corridor, and that's when everything took a dark turn. One of the surveillance cameras caught the face of a young girl peering through a locked door. That entire section had been sealed from the inside out. Nobody was supposed to. A patrol officer got a call reporting someone peering into the windows of a property that had been sealed up and abandoned for years. When he arrived on scene with his team, his first reaction was this.
Gives out some creepy vibes.
Shaken but refusing to back down, he made his way toward the entrance. At that moment, an eerie shadow passed across the window. In spite of the fear crawling through him, he stepped inside to investigate whether anyone was actually in there and found absolutely nothing. It seemed like the officer had come face to face with something supernatural that evening, and by all accounts was fortunate to walk away in one piece.
This place definitely gives out some creepy.
November 1st, 2021, dashcam footage from the Utah Highway Patrol reportedly documented a dangerous incident on Interstate 15 near Scipio in Juab County, Utah at approximately 12:40 in the morning as a driver was observed heading the wrong way through the southbound lanes. Dispatch had already been fielding multiple calls about a vehicle traveling northbound in the wrong direction and had radioed troopers accordingly. One patrol unit caught the moment the suspect blew past an officer head-on, going the wrong way. Before that, trooper reversed course and gave chase, using the correct lanes. By the time the trooper finally caught up to the vehicle, it had already come to a stop, with the driver appearing completely unresponsive behind the wheel. The eerie stillness of the scene left officers puzzled as they moved in to assess what they were dealing with and secured the surrounding area. Within the dimly lit corridors of the Central Receiving Division cell block, Officer Ben Lloyd made the decision to open up about the unsettling things he'd experienced there. Back when he was just starting out on the job, he had no time for the ghost stories his veteran coworkers like to spin about the building, but a single encounter changed his entire outlook.
I mean, seriously, she laughed at me.
During one of his standard walkthroughs of the cell block, a male voice called out to him from further down the hall. He didn't think much of it at first and hollered back for whoever it was to wait a moment, but the voice persisted, repeating, "Officer," over and over. Figuring it could be something urgent, he headed toward it. The voice seemed to get stronger the closer he got, almost mirroring his own replies. But the moment he arrived at the row of cells, it vanished completely, leaving nothing but dead silence. He peered into each cell one by one and found every door hanging open, a clear sign they were all vacant.
As I looked down the hallway,
by the time he reached the very last cell and confirmed it was empty too, an icy feeling crept over him. On pure instinct, he turned around and bolted, rattled to his core. That wasn't the only strange thing to happen though. Part of his late-night duties involved conducting head counts to confirm all detainees were accounted for. On one particular night, he passed a cell and noticed its door sitting slightly open. That alone wasn't alarming since empty cells were routinely left that way. But when he took a closer look, by the time he reached the very last cell and confirmed it was empty too, an icy feeling crept over him. On pure instinct, he turned around and bolted.
That was open. But this wasn't out of the ordinary. We would leave the doors open when no one was in us.
When he relayed what he'd seen, she brushed it off with a laugh, telling him he must be seeing things. She had literally just finished a head count and everything had checked out perfectly. Not willing to let it go, the two of them walked back to the cell together, only to discover the door firmly locked with absolutely no trace of the sleeping figure.
Check the door and identify who the person was. When we got there.
This one's brief, and it wraps up almost as fast as it begins, which is precisely why it stays with you.
C'est la nuit, les suites. Ça marche, merci, on va y voir tout à l'heure. Ça marche. Je vais laisser retourner chez vous un petit peu, respirer.
Ouais, mais vous avez pas un truc pour les serrures parce qu'en fait on a pas les clés.
C'est vrai, juste là.
Oui.
Bah, elle est ouverte.
D'accord, très bien, y a pas de problème. Non mais y a pas de problème, très bien, allez, bonne soirée. Oui bah ça va, c'est Gaël qui m'a dit qu'elle était fermée, j'y peux rien moi. C'est lui qui est rebou sa race.
C'est pas boire, on ne boit pas.
Ah mais lui il boit pas beaucoup d'habitude. Ouais, baissez, ouais, baissez.
Il est trop dans le mal.
Ouais, carrément, franchement il est pas bien du tout, le gamin.
Ah ouais?
Non, bah non, justement, je voulais avoir ce moment et je l'ai pas eu.
Officers received a call to respond to a residence where a late-night party was underway, the kind of situation that typically amounts to nothing, a noise complaint that wraps up with everyone heading home.
Je pense on va rentrer tranquillement. What? C'est vous? Excusez-moi, est-ce que vous pouvez baisser la caméra? Ouais, bien sûr. Bon. What? Il y a de l'ambiance chez vous, monsieur. Bah ouais, ouais, vous voulez venir avec nous ou quoi? Bah écoutez, non.
In the recording, you can see the officers making their way through the property at a measured pace. And even before anything occurs, there's something about the atmosphere inside that feels deeply unsettling. One of the officers seems to pick up on it, treading cautiously without any clear reason why. Then he moved toward the kitchen doorway, and in that very instant, the entire rack mounted above the counter collapses. No one is anywhere near it, not a single hand within reach. And it's the timing that nobody can explain, the precise moment he stepped into that room, as if something lurking in there had been biding its time until he got close enough. Whatever caused it to come down never made contact with the ground. At a dated school building somewhere in Russia, security personnel spotted something unsettling on their surveillance monitors as the facility was being closed up for the night.
Ничего, на одном месте.
Мы все здороваемся с ним теперь.
Да, я ему говорю, привет.
Видишь ребенок?
Видишь, как ребенок.
Когда выходит на черное, его сильно вообще видно. Вот, снимает. Иди сюда, мы же его... Мы забыли вывести, это можно уже на большой экран.
Смотри на большом экране.
Смотри.
Вот ходит, сейчас спустится. Вон он идет, видишь?
Видишь? Вот здесь вообще как ребенок, смотри, да?
Капец, ты видишь? Ну, конечно, вот и в телефоне вот оно он тоже.
И в актовом зале их там 3 штуки играют.
О, ничего себе.
Они летают, как бы играют.
А вот сейчас уже на стенке.
A dim, drifting figure seemed to materialize near one of the stairwells. Some staff chalked it up to a camera artifact, perhaps a lens flare or a strand of cobwebs drifting into frame. But others weren't so easily convinced, with a few going as far as suggesting it could be a wandering spirit. What actually caused it remains an open question to this day. A security officer pulling a night shift at a deserted school started picking up sounds he couldn't account for. Noises drifting through the corridors, coming from rooms he'd personally locked up hours before. He chalked it up to exhaustion and an aging building, but the same thing kept happening every single night until he'd had enough of questioning his own sanity and decided to start filming on his phone. All he wanted was confirmation that the building was empty. Turns out it wasn't. Further down the corridor, a shadowy figure stands motionless before ducking out of view and reappearing, almost as if it's weighing up whether it wants to be noticed. He moved toward it, found nothing. Locked doors. Total silence in every direction, yet that shape was right there on his screen, vanishing the instant he closed the distance. There are stories about a young girl who died in that school long ago and never moved on. Make of that what you will. He left the building visibly rattled, and once you see the footage he managed to capture, that reaction will make complete sense. If any of this stirs something up for you personally, please reach out to someone you trust. This dashcam footage captures the moment police responded to reports of 2 clown costume individuals who were frightening motorists and, in some cases, actually pursuing their vehicles. The whole thing went down on the night of October 7, 2016, somewhere in Wisconsin, set against a backdrop of widespread clown hysteria that was sweeping across the globe at the time. The clip gives us a window into just one of countless unnerving encounters from that period. People dressed as clowns were showing up everywhere, terrorizing and even physically harming bystanders. In the footage, the responding officer orders the 2 clowns to raise their hands, making sure they aren't concealing any kind of weapon. The pair slowly stretch their arms outward in a deeply unsettling way, locking eyes with the officers and standing completely still. Now, compared to some of the far more disturbing clown-related incidents that were being reported that same month, this particular standoff might look almost tame, but the creeping sense of dread it carries is anything but. A security officer on night duty was conducting his sweep through a vacant building when something went completely unregistered by him at the time. His patrol continued without incident, nothing seeming out of the ordinary. It wasn't until he later sat down and pulled up his body cam footage that he spotted it. There in the window, unmistakably clear on the recording, was the dark outline of a figure standing perfectly motionless. The structure had been verified as empty before he ever stepped foot inside. No other personnel were reported to be on the premises that evening. Whatever that silhouette belonged to had passed completely beneath his radar in the moment, yet the camera saw it. This footage was published directly on the official Texas Police Department website. 2 officers are seen in pursuit of a moving vehicle. The suspect cuts across the road, apparently realizing there's no way out, and brings the car to a stop. But when the officers finally catch up to the vehicle, something immediately seems off.
You're next. Or you should be. There's no one outside, no one behind the wheel, and the van is locked.
Where's it gone?
It's magic.
It's in the back. In the back? He stopped to think he's hiding in the back.
Nobody is inside, not in the driver's seat, not in the passenger seat. The car was completely vacant and locked, engine already shut off, and there wasn't a single trace suggesting anyone had recently been behind the wheel. The driver had simply... This footage was captured in a deserted town somewhere in Portugal. Local law enforcement had been picking up on whispers about some kind of bizarre creature prowling the area after dark, so they headed out to see what was going on. For a while, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but just as the officers were about to head out, a pale white figure materialized in one of the windows. It moved with such speed that the officers were instantly convinced something supernatural was lurking inside. That's the moment it hit them. Every warning the locals had given about that place was completely true. 32-year-old security guard Raul Arguello brought his phone into a changing room at Tomás Adolfo Duco Stadium in Buenos Aires on May 16, 2018, determined to find out who or what kept slamming the door shut for no apparent reason. He pushed the door open, found the room completely empty, and continued recording anyway. What his camera picked up was something else entirely, a shadow tearing across the bench row from one side to the other before passing straight through the wall, not slowing down even slightly, as if the solid surface simply wasn't there. Arguello went back through the footage himself and admitted he hadn't noticed a single thing in that moment. Since then, he's had no desire whatsoever to set foot in that room once night falls. At a police precinct in Chile, officers have been voicing concerns about unexplained activity for quite a while. Then one evening, their security footage finally gave those reports something to back them up. A door flew open with no one anywhere near it, and a faint, hazy shape could be seen drifting through the frame. One of the officers came out to check, scanning the area in every direction, and turned up absolutely nothing.
Yo veo una hueá blanca, weón. Mira, mira como un humo, weón.
She grabbed the door, pushed it closed, and headed back inside. Whatever that ghostly presence was, it had apparently been calling that station home for far longer than service had wrapped up hours earlier. The seats sat vacant, and every door had been locked up tight. When a security guard picked up sounds coming from within, his first thought was that some animal had found its way inside. He swept the entire premises. Nothing, just silence, and row after row of unoccupied chairs. Confident there was nothing to worry about, he headed back out. But come the following morning, as he sat down to review the surveillance footage, he went completely still. There, plain as day on the recording, a small shadow resembling a child was darting along right behind him, completely undetectable to him in the moment. And besides, no child had been present at that funeral at all. Everyone who laid eyes on that footage was left with the same burning question. Just who was that tiny figure, and what were they doing there?